Okay, Larry Payton here with Craft Beer with me, and this is Brewers Banter, and this is like the recap, I guess, with Patrick Feltz of Waikiki Brewing. Patrick, I've said before when I transferred it to podcast that the episode I had with you was the favorite one I've done in 3 years. I had an absolute blast, and then I listened to it, and I'm like, oh man, it just yeah. We tried to really capture what it was like there, to be part of it all. And you certainly do, but unfortunately, you don't hear a lot of us, and hence the recapture. Welcome back. I will get you to introduce yourself. Tell us about you. Tell us about Waikiki Brewing.
Yeah, my name is Pat, one of the brewers for Waikiki Brewing Company. We have 4 locations across Oahu, and you still got one, right?
That is my last one. I've been waiting for this.
Yeah, we got 4 locations, 2 on Maui, 2 on Oahu. We opened up in 2015 in Oahu. About 2 years later, our production demanded that we open up a really big production facility. So that's right down the street from our original location in Oahu.
Wow.
And then about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, we opened up a small kind of playground is what we like to call it. But that's a small 3.5 barrel system. That's the one that I work at. And that's right on Front Street in Maui. And then we have a cool little tap room that is in Wailea, which is about an hour away from where I work. And we don't make any beer there, unfortunately, but it's a pretty cool location just to go and have food. It's in the shops at Wailea, so it's right next to all the big stuff to do over there. So
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. Okay, that's awesome, and it's a phenomenal place. So let's go right to the beers that you guys brew. What do you have on tap now, which would be different from what you had back when I visited a few months ago?
So I was telling you about all the stuff we had in the barrels, right? So about 2 weeks ago, we blended some of the barrels, and we got 2 different barrel aged wild ales on tap right now that are phenomenal. Yeah, we had the brewmaster for Miller, so the guy that makes all the cores and Miller Lite and all that kind of stuff. We had him in, and he came over and told me it was some of the best stuff that he's had, and
Wow.
it was pretty cool because it is amazing what the barrels kind of do. And so yeah, we blended them together and then put them on tap, and they're pretty phenomenal. And then we also got a hazy on tap right now that we made for National IPA Day last week, and so that one's pretty good. And then yeah, we're resuming our staff brew day program, which is essentially twice a month. I allow 3 or 4 different employees to sign up, and they come in, they do the entire brew day with me. So it kind of teaches them a lot about everything. I mean, it teaches them from start to finish, teaches them a lot of terminology, which is really good when they're talking to their tables, but it's also just a cool experience. I mean, most people don't get that opportunity to brew a beer on a big scale. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, man.
We're starting that up. I got another one tomorrow. So we're doing an Oktoberfest and get that ready for the end of September, early October. So that should be fun. And then yeah, we got a lot of cool stuff that we're doing. I'm doing an imperial stout that I'm putting into a rum barrel that we got from a distillery that's up country.
Nice.
So I'm doing that next week so that we can hopefully age that for about 3 months and have that ready for about Christmas time. And
Wow.
yeah, just get to do all the fun stuff. I did a hazy last week that won't be ready for another week probably, but I threw a bunch of sweet orange peel in the mash.
Oh, okay, cool. In the mash.
Yeah, because some of my research, I realized that
A little bit of a Wi-Fi issue.
so basically it's the orange. Can you hear me?
You broke up. So we ended off with you put it in the mash, and based on your research.
Yeah. Based on my research, essentially the oil that is in the orange peel, it's not present in hops, but it is a sustainable compound, so it will last throughout the entire brewing process. So I figured might as well throw it in the mash, get all the oils to kind of merge into the wort, and then just kind of see how it goes. And just from taking some of the samples when I'm doing my my gravity readings, it smells like orange juice.
Wow.
So I I'm about to do the first dry hop today, and I'm doing a second dry hop towards the end of fermentation. And I'm hoping for the best, but we'll
Damn.
see what happens.
So that was just orange peels in the mash.
Just orange peels in the mash, yeah.
And any idea what kind of percentage we're talking about?
The beer will come out to roughly about 6%.
I'm sorry, I mean the percentage in terms of the oil, the orange peels. Like, how much did you put in?
Oh, for a 3.5 barrel batch, I did about 2.5 pounds.
So okay, so not much.
Not much, and I probably in the future I'd probably do a little less. We just had about 5 pounds that we were just like, all right, let's just throw this in.
Wow.
So, but yeah,
that's awesome, man. That's exciting. That is very exciting stuff.
Pretty cool, yeah.
One of the cool things we did when we were there that I really had not experienced other places was bear pairings. If you could sort of speak to that, because I think this is very cool for people who are foodies, who are craft beer nuts, who may not be into craft beer, whatever. I mean, this is why Waikiki Brewing in Lahaina is the place to visit. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So our chef is amazing at just kind of taking whatever's in front of him and concocting these amazing recipes. And so yeah, he's kind of a magician when it comes to he'll take beer. He'll take beer and he'll turn it into barbecue sauce. He'll take beer, he'll brine our pork shoulder in it and brine it for 5 days until it turns literally like gray. And then he's like, now it's going to be smoked for 12 hours. And to the point, it's when you're pulling it out of the smoker, it's just like, it literally just falls apart. But yeah, so everything that we do in the kitchen is essentially out of a smoker or on our charboil grill. We have a fryer, but that's for things like fries and onion rings and stuff like that.
Right.
But yeah, it's basically if you imagine like Texas barbecue or Carolina barbecue or Kansas City barbecue, it's essentially a combination of all that thrown into one kitchen, and it's incredible what they do back there. There's usually only 2-3 guys on a shift, and they're just cranking it out. But it's all about just kind of prepping. So the way that they're able to time all of their smokes and all that kind of stuff, I've never seen anything like it. It puts me in awe a lot because it's so fresh. Like
it's phenomenal. Yeah, like it's ridiculous.
Yeah, we do. Yeah,
like it is. It's obnoxious. Listen, man, it's obnoxious. It's absolutely ridiculous. Like it is. Really, it's just it is. I mean, it's unreal. And so it's not only that the food is fantastic, but also that your servers can always pair it up with an appropriate style of beer. So again, maybe speak to that a little bit. They must obviously be well versed in beer, well enough to know the food and the beer to really give some knowledgeable advice.
Yeah. So again, we try to train them as much as possible, as much as they can retain. So it's a constant training. So anytime that we see them like doing something, it's like, hey, like, do you know why you're doing that? And just kind of educating them on why they're pouring a beer a certain way, why it goes in a certain glass, like just things like that it's something that it might be super simple, but if you've never learned it before, you don't really know. And the food is very similar. So we essentially teach them that like certain types of beers go with certain types of foods, not to pair certain beers with certain types of foods. And we get a lot of people that ask for their recommendations. So for the most part, they're pretty on top of recommending the right thing for the right people. So
yeah, they did a fantastic. The service was just absolutely amazing as well. I mean, it's one thing. Look, man, you go into breweries, it's fantastic. They get great beer. Like that's awesome. You go into a brewery and they have great service. Awesome. You go into a brewery and the atmosphere is there. The view out the front window is there. Or you go into a brewery and they actually serve food and the food is awesome. But I mean, let's be honest, like Waikiki in Lahaina hits all four. And as much as that sounds like a sales pitch for me, it's an absolute reality. It's the honest God's truth. That's the way it is.
It's one of the coolest breweries I've ever been to. It's still a work in progress. So we're waiting to get a mural done on our back wall. That's going to be awesome. Nice. It's a brand new location. So, I mean, essentially we're still developing the culture, but it's got one of the best foundational cultures in the beer scene, in my opinion, because of that view. I mean, at sunset time, if you get like a really nice sunset, it lights up all the tanks, and so the entire restaurant will turn like the color of the sunset. It's
Wow.
incredible. Yeah, you get
Wow.
those really like dark pink, like orange, burnt orange sunsets, and
Yeah.
the entire restaurant turns that color because it reflects off the tanks. It's
That's
really cool.
unreal. That's unreal. I didn't get to see that. Never go out
Yeah.
late and play, right? That's the problem. I always just
Yep,
get,
yep.
I've always had a lot by the time I'm, hitting about 6 o'clock. So
Yeah.
when I'm on
Yeah.
vacation in Hawaii.
Yeah, exactly.
Tell us about the brew house. I mean, the very cool thing about that is that, if you walk in, it's completely open to everybody. And they're going to see some things that they've never seen anywhere else.
Yeah, it was custom built for our location. And yeah, it's a 3.5 barrel brew house with 2 7-barrel fermenters and 2 3.5 barrel fermenters, as well as 2 10-barrel fooders. So I got a light base sour and a dark base sour in each fooder.
Yeah.
And essentially what we're trying to do with that is we're trying to create that liquid as kind of like an acceleration for our barrel aged stuff. So that the fooders hold a lot of liquid. They hold about 300 gallons worth of liquid. And so at any given time, when we empty out our barrels, we can refill them with what's in the fooders, and they have that accelerated timetable now, because now they only need a month to really develop the flavors that the barrel will impart on it, because it's already been touching the oak for anywhere from 6 to 9 months. And so essentially it accelerates how fast we can keep on turning these barrel aged beers out, and also kind of gives us more playroom, because we can not have to wait 6 months to see what's in a barrel. We kind of know what's gonna happen. We can actually work on the blending part, which is the fun part about working with the wild ales and stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's amazing. Okay, we're going to jump in with a quick game of least prefer. Tell me, we're going to go quick here. Which do you prefer least of 2 options? Okay. We'll go with Kauai or Oahu.
I've never been to Kauai, but probably say Oahu, just because I liked Maui. I liked Maui because of how like isolated it is and how slow everything is. You go to Oahu and it's like being back in the Bay Area in California. You're just like, this is why I left here. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. That's true. That's true. Citra or Mosaic?
Ooh, neither, man. Those are my 2 favorites.
You can't do it. You can't do it.
I can't. No.
All right, here we go. Cascade or Centennial?
Cascade.
Oh, really? Okay. All
yeah,
right.
I like Centennial a lot. If I use it in short regimens, but I like Cascade too. It's just out of the 2, I definitely prefer Centennial a little bit more. So.
Hockey or football?
Hockey. I'm a big fan of both, but football is my favorite sport.
All right. Crystal malts or filtering? That's one that always gets a good brewer.
Probably filtering, because it's a pain sometimes.
Yeah. Okay. I'm with you. Last one, hair of the dog or swear to never drink again?
Swear to never drink again.
Nice. Yeah. Good man. Good man. Tell us about craft beer and the craft beer community in Hawaii. I mean, there's 4 craft breweries there, and I've been to all of them. Even on my last trip, I made sure to hit every single one of them, and they're all extraordinarily different from one another.
Super different.
So, I mean, tell us just about the community, the culture.
Yeah. It's definitely different than where I was originally from in California, where every town has like 5 breweries now and that kind of stuff, where over here it's like you get one brewery and then you get another brewery, but you got to drive sometimes an hour to get to the other one. So you never really hang out at the other ones as much, because it's honestly, it's just far. I think that's the biggest difference. Other than that, we're all making extremely different beers. I mean, like, we got our whole wild ale program. You got Maui Brew Co. that just kind of makes everything.
And it's huge.
Yeah,
Maui's a different beast on its own. It's just massive.
Yeah, they're not considered a craft brewery. I mean, they are considered a craft. They're not considered a microbrewery. They're a regional brewery.
Right. Okay.
So they're pumping out in one of their tanks. They're doing what I can do in 6 months, essentially.
Wow, Jesus.
Yeah. So that's a whole different beast. And they actually just bought Modern Times, which is a California-based brewery.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah. Well, that's something Garrett alluded to back earlier in the fall, that he was moving to the mainland.
on the mainland and get distribution going and that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
but yeah, so then there's Mahalo Ale Works in Kohala, and Kohala is pretty cool. They got like bingo and trivia. They got live music every now and then, but that's kind of like the place where locals will go and hang out and not be interrupted by a lot of tourists on like nighttime stuff.
Right.
And then you got Mahalo Ale Works, which is extremely new, and it's beautiful. It's really far away from where I live. So I only go there every now and then.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a beautiful setup up there. It's about the same size as what I'm working with. So it's pretty impressive that they're able to crank out beers as fast as they do.
Yeah. All great breweries and all in completely different ways. And again, I thoroughly enjoyed my time at Waikiki. I just found that it's very, I love staying in Kaanapali, so it's very close. The atmosphere is great. Everything is spick and span clean. And
it's pretty crazy because you go to a lot of places on Front Street and they're kind of like tourist traps,
Yeah.
And Waikiki does not have that. It's a different vibe. I mean, it's
Not at all. A little bit of the spinnies again. There you go. You're back. Can you hear me?
Cool. Yeah.
All right. It just said Waikiki doesn't have that vibe like of the tourist trap.
Yeah, it's basically like you're walking into your like local brewery. It's really cool. I mean, we welcome customers coming in and asking questions about our equipment. It's a lot of fun for me to go up and talk to tables and talk to customers and stuff. I mean, they're always so impressed with just the view, but then they start talking about the beer and it's a lot of fun. It's fun talking beer with people, but it's really cool when they're really interested and they want to come up and ask questions. And most breweries, sometimes you don't get that opportunity to talk to the people that are making the product. But we try to do things that are slightly different. And it's something that I really enjoy. It's just talking beer with people.
So it's absolutely, man. What's your best memory so far at the brewery?
At the brewery, I made a beer with my dad.
Right.
And you tried that one, yeah.
That Dunkel, yeah, fantastic.
Dunkel, yeah, and it was his favorite, and he got me into brewing when I was little. He was always home brewing, and I heard all the stories when I was growing up, and then I went off to college and I got a job in the restaurant side of a brewery, and ended up bugging the brewmaster over there to let me tag along and learn all the stuff, and now I'm here. But it really started with just I liked being around the brewery atmosphere when I was growing up, and so obviously I wasn't drinking until I was older, but I just like the atmosphere. It's very laid back and easy going, and so it was really cool that my dad had never brewed on a professional scale, and so essentially he came for a visit, and we brewed his favorite style of beer, which is a Dunkel lager. And and then it was great because right as I released it, he was like, "Hey, like send me a six pack," but it's like I can't really send a six pack. It was only on tap, and so my mom and I surprised him with like a 2-day trip. So we basically bought plane tickets for him to fly over for a day and a half, essentially, and he slept on my couch. But we had a bunch of Dunkels, and that was probably one of my favorite moments because he was sitting there, he was just drinking them like by the glass, basically.
That's awesome.
It was a cool full circle moment.
That just doesn't get any better than that. I can't imagine, man, when you go that full circle. The reality is, and we have to say this because people are going to listen to this and wonder how they can get their hands on Waikiki Bear.
Yeah.
And let's deal with the elephant in the room in terms of how do you get Waikiki Bear?
You got to come to Hawaii.
You got to go to Hawaii, man.
Got to come to Hawaii. We our production is already pretty much maxed out. So even if we had a way to distribute it to the mainland, which is very, very difficult because of shipping constraints and stuff. It's difficult just to get it from island to island sometimes. But even if we could ship it to the mainland, we wouldn't be able to make enough to fulfill a lot of those accounts. We're already pretty much maxed out at about 10,000 barrels a year, which is it's a lot of beer. They're cranking out beers like crazy over there.
Absolutely. So. Yeah, no, absolutely, man. That's the reality. And I mean, like how many days a week do you brew?
Whenever I have an open tank, I try to brew.
Okay.
So like this week I'm brewing 3 times, next week just once.
Okay.
Yeah, as soon as I get an open tank, I'm pretty much scheduled in another beer. So
Right. And over on Oahu, they're
oh yeah,
brewing flat
they're
out.
they're they're just brewing every day. Yeah, I mean there might be one day a week that they don't brew,
Wow.
but essentially it's a 20 barrel system that can produce up to 80 barrels.
Wow.
So essentially they'll have like one person come in and start the brew, the other person will come in mid brew and then finish up the second
Mhm.
brew.
Mhm.
So essentially you got 2 people brewing 40 barrels a day, and then if they got an 80 barrel tank they got to fill, they'll do that again the next day and fill that up. So
Wow. Wow. Yeah, they're
yeah,
flat out. Cheers to Joe and everyone over there at the
yeah,
Oahu
yeah.
side. I mean, hopefully someday I can get to talk to him. I know we discussed he's flat out, and I know you're flat out. And so, Patrick,
Yeah.
I would love to take more of your time. However, I have a great deal of respect for you. I have no issue saying that those who are tuned in, this is it became a friendship, man. It became actually a pretty,
100%,
I consider you a good friend of mine. Just getting to meet, hang out a little bit, and yeah, man, and getting to talk again is absolutely fantastic. Before we end off, I will just add, is there anything else that you want to add? Anything else you want to throw in there?
No, I
This
mean
beer is phenomenal. I will tell you, this
it's
cryo
pretty
pop
good.
is sick. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, if you guys are ever visiting Hawaii, especially if you're coming to Maui, definitely check us out. If you come to Lahaina and I'm working, feel free to come up and ask any questions. And if
Very
I
cool.
get time, I'll sit down and chat with you.
Very cool. If you go to Hawaii and you go to, I'll forgive you. If you go to Maui though, and you don't make it over to Waikiki Brewing, you
Yeah,
probably seriously should see a doctor. I'm just going to throw that out
yeah.
there.
'Cause
There's some issues.
for the most part, if you come to Maui, there's a high probability that you're going to Front Street at least one day. So
Absolutely.
there's absolutely no excuse as to why you don't stop in or at least see what we
Zero.
got. You know?
Zero.
So,
Absolutely zero. No excuses.
yeah.
Listen, man, what's the best hangover food?
Okay. Yeah, poke.
Okay.
It's so good. It's like sushi, but you can eat
Yeah.
it in whatever quantity you want. It's great.
I thought so. So I thought you said okay, and I'm like, I
No,
think
no,
he's
no,
just
no,
saying he'll
no,
eat
no, no, no.
anything.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
That makes more sense. I was like, okay, all right, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got you.
No, no.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
All right, and we're gonna end off with the challenge. The challenge is as follows, which we've done this before, so So feel free to say no. It's like noon 30 your time.
Yeah.
The challenge is as follows: I will chug a beer if you chug a beer with me,
Yeah.
or you make 3 attempts at
I got
biting your
one
ear.
right here. Hold on.
Yeah. Well, I'm not chugging this. This is like I'm down to the last half glass of my Waikiki. Yeah. All right, I'm going to be chugging this one here is a 8% double IPA that I brewed. I think you might be frozen again, so let's give it a second. Nice and clear.
Beautiful.
There he is. You got a craft light. Yeah, this is my this one here. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I did a split on a 220s and used different yeasts
Okay.
and different hops. This one here, I believe, was an Omega tropical. I think it was tropical yeast. Yeah, which is, I mean, it's crazy. It turned out very, very beautiful, very clear. It's got a beautiful hop character to it, much more on the tropical side. It leaves a nice little lacing. Yeah, I mean, I would love to get down sometime, like we talked about it, and brew together, or
Yeah.
if I even just get hammered together, that'd be fun. I'd be cool with that. So, all right.
Yep. When you're on Maui next, just let me know, and I'll let
I
you
will
know when
give you
you
the heads
start
up.
brewing.
Yeah, I'll give you the heads up for sure, brother. All right, man. Cheers to you. Look at that, right on scratch, you and I.
Beautiful.
Patrick, thank you so much for doing this. I know you're busy, man. I wanted to make sure people actually got a chance to hear how awesome Waikiki is and how awesome you are.
Appreciate it.
Just reach out to Patrick. It's absolutely, they're fantastic, man. Thank you very much for your time.
Of course, buddy.
Go back to work, and you and I'll be chatting again soon.
Sounds good, man.
Cheers, brother. Bye.
Hey, buddy.